be breaking himself up.
I just don't believe that quick. Like, stop.
I do believe
No,
that though.
at 14 years old, getting himself to school at 6 o'clock in the morning, that's a lot. Quick knows how I grew up. He knows that my mom.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We're talking to you guys about Love and Marriage DC, and I'm breaking down episode 1. Now, this episode was actually pretty good. I actually liked some of the themes that were going on in this episode. I want to quickly just say, listen, it's unfortunate the Samuels are no longer in this particular season, but I hope they can use this time off to actually spend time repairing the links of their relationship. There was a lot of speculation going on within their relationship that, they had officially divorced or broken up or whatever. But we do know that at the time of this, they had separated, or at least they were taking some time to regather. All right. But it's interesting because the comment that Ashley makes within the show is that the Samuels are having a break or a separation in separate houses. Hmm, that's not giving that's not giving what it really needs to give. And so yes, I think they are trying to repair their marriage and trying to regather, rethink, and recuperate and come back to one another as well. So we wish them the best and hope they actually do, because we watched them last season and there was a lot of us who felt like, especially Monique, was very harsh on Chris. Now, of course, she makes concessions about the time that they've been together, that she's been speaking and telling him how she felt for the last decade or so. And so it's come to this kind of halt and this head, which is quite interesting. So, in this situation here, we're happy to see that, that they're taking some time off and hopefully they regather. The rest of the season, though, I mean, this episode is so interesting. Just the initial themes that were running through it. We had DJ Quick and Ashley talking about, number one, him going back to work more than before. Okay. Number two, the issue with their children in terms of his son. Are they spoiling him, or are they, are they not allowing him to take more responsibility for him, waking up on time and going to school and stuff like that? And then obviously, again, once more, they have their own relationship kind of issues within them as well, right? Then we had obviously Arena and Jamie Tyler, whose real main issue at the moment really is more to do with little Jamie. And I think that's such a powerful theme to go with as well, because both DJ Quick and Jamie are having similar issues. And it's interesting because DJ Quick is trying to see what Jamie's done and trying to learn from the mistakes that he's done in order to make sure that he course corrects his own son. That's also quite a powerful thing as well. So I love the direction they were going in with that as well. And then we obviously have our newbies, Clifton and Joy, who've also been added to the show, which I think is quite interesting because, we get an insight again to kids once more being part of the conversation, but about Joy becoming a bonus plus mum, and her obviously having to speak at a single mums event. And I'll be very honest, I'll give my opinion shortly here, but I'll give it in much more detail a little bit later on in this review. I'll be honest with you, I don't know why she would be speaking at the Ready to Love section of the event when she's not a single mother. That doesn't make sense to me. Of all the people who are on Ready to Love, who are single mothers, you chose one who's not a single mother. That just blows my mind. They're acting as if they have no other people, and there are no other candidates out there. There was Shay from season 1 or season 2, whatever, who was with Mike, who potentially single mother can speak on that. Like I mean, I'm bewildered. I've only mentioned one person, but there's so many of them on the show, so it doesn't make sense as to why Joy was chosen. And so I kind of understood how Ashley was kind of like taken aback. One thing about Ashley is she gonna tell you how she feel and how she really feel, face to face. You can never call her fake. Now let's break this review down. But before we go any further, let's like it, you share, let's subscribe, let's click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. And we appreciate you guys as well. For those of you who are returnees, you already know the motto: you got the minerals, you got the minerals. Stay hydrated. All right, cool. Let's get into this. Let's break this down, and let's talk some love and marriage DC. First and foremost, I want to focus on Clifton and Joy and get them out of the way because they're much more shorter existence as well. And the first thing is they kind of showed us a little bit about them is, you know, and if you watch Ready to Love, it's so interesting as well because we spoke about this long distance relationship and we spoke about how difficult it would be for Joy and Clifton to do long distance. So it's interesting to hear them speak about it. Let's listen.
Mexico, you know, but the long distance relationship is definitely not going to work. I'm speechless.
So quite clearly, moving on from obviously Ready to Love, the long distance relationship conversation. Because remember, Ready to Love, they had a quite extensive conversation about this long distance, and we were scared that Clifton having to do long distance, yeah, he might not make it, and Joy too. We thought that she might not make it if they do long distance as well, but just because both of them, the way that we saw them on the show, they need to be in each other's presence. So it's interesting to find out, obviously, that the long distance is not going to work, and she's willing to sacrifice, I guess, a bit of her time to move in, be where he is. I don't think we never heard anything about her stopping the singing. So I'm guessing either she's going to do the singing more locally, or she's going to cut down on some of the more international long stay gigs that she might be doing in other countries and elsewhere as well. So that's an aspect to their relationship that was interesting to find out. It was slightly different from Ready to Love. We've seen that they've closed the gap and they're now going to be staying together. We know, obviously, in Reunion, he asked her to move in. So that's a continuation as well. But now we know officially there's no more long distance kind of relationship, you know, and you know, it's them going to be against the world and them coming close. I actually met them as well in DC. When I was in DC, I actually met with Carmen, Clifton, Joy. You might have seen it while I was out there as well. So had a good time and had some good conversations, and it was quite interesting to see both Joy and Clifton. Nothing fake about their actual relationship. They genuinely seemed in love, and genuinely like they care for each other. And I will say what I said to them. I said to them, I still don't change my opinion about you from Ready to Love. You know what I mean? Like, nothing here has changed my opinion of how I felt about you and Ready to Love. In fact, I see it even more. You know what I mean? I see that Joy is kind of tigerish. I see that Clifton, you know, he likes it. He's a little play. He's a little bit sharp with his tongue. He's a clever clog. You know what I mean? He's got a sharp tongue. He knows what he's about. And so no beef. You know what I mean? They are authentic to the core and authentic to the ground. So never have a problem with that as well. Now let's go to the main thing that obviously happened. Conversational point was obviously about the single mother aspect that was spoken about, because I really did think to myself, what was the reason why they made Joy that situation? And I can understand the conversation that happened between herself and Ashley. Let's have a look at a little clip of this.
And now we just got find somebody to marry Alicia off to.
Right. Really quickly, I will be speaking at the Steve and Marjorie Harvey Foundation in Atlanta.
Pause. Okay, so this scene here, it starts off really, really well. You know, Joy is, you know, saying, hey, look, I'm going to be speaking at this particular event. And you can see at first, Ashley and Arena at first seem to be very happy for Joy. That, ooh, you know, okay, girl, got some good news. You know, and we find out obviously that I think Joy is Ashley's friend, or they at least they're cool like that as whatever. But yeah, no, you hear that obviously, you know, that the girls are looking like, oh, like, you know, it looks kind of cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, I see it. You know, they're about that life. You know, like they're happy for it at that point in time. Let's play a little bit more.
You better go, girl.
And I
Pause. Look at even Jamie. Jamie high fives her. It is going well, guys. It is going well. Okay. All right. Everyone seems to be happy for her and involved, right? Good body language, good energy right now. Okay.
going to be part of the Ready to Love segment, talking to single moms about being ready to love.
But wait, you're
Okay. So now, obviously, she says, obviously, I'm going to be talking to people about Ready to Love, to the single moms about Ready to Love, right? And I think this is where you start to see the eyes and the heads and begin to change, right? And I totally understand Joy's point of view, and someone even said another round, Jay just said it as well. Maybe they thought that you're bringing her to speak as a bonus mom. Maybe that's why they're doing that. And so that would make a bit more plausible sense as to why they decided to make her the spokesperson in that respect. But obviously, because we don't hear that elaboration from Joy, it makes it, we assume that actually that's not the case. And the assumption is that she's talking to single mothers and she's just being the one who's a spokesman. You know what I mean? So let's listen a bit more to what happens.
No. I'm talking about ready to love.
I know, but why are you talking to single?
So obviously Joy makes it very clear again that she's not talking to single moms necessarily, but she's talking to single moms about ready to love. You know what I mean? So whilst I do understand she has a ready to love aspect, she is not a single mom. And so that makes the ears of the ladies go up, and of course the guys, we don't want to get involved. But interesting enough in this situation, I do actually understand where the ladies are coming from. At least, well, I love where Ashley's coming from. I do understand, because you don't have that perspective. If you notice, the girl in the corner, what's her name? I think her name is Cries. She goes, but wait, hold on a minute. Where you coming from? What you talking about? Right? Let's have a look.
Mom.
They asked me to speak.
They know you're not a mom, right?
They know I'm not a mom. But
Okay, so one thing I do love, one thing I do love about Ashley is that Ashley gonna keep it all the way real. Listen, I don't always agree with the way that she goes about it, but one thing you know about Ashley is that guy ain't never gonna lie to you. And I've always told you guys, as much as I don't like people, talking out of turn or being a bit rude, people who tell the truth all the time, I can't beef them, because in the end, you at least know you can trust those people because they'll always tell you the truth. And the reality is, Ashley is gonna let you know what's on her mind, right? She ain't gonna sugarcoat the thing, right? So in this case, Ashley again does what Ashley do. We saw this with Winter, of Winter as well. Situation for season 1, first episode again. Ashley don't play. She, as soon as the ball starts rolling, Ashley's on the ball. Like, you know what I mean? Like, give me the ball. I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna score some points. Like Ashley's straight from the buzzer. She don't play, man. She's straight from the moment the bell goes. Ashley's in the ring. Like, don't play with Ashley. Season 1, she's same thing. Season 2, she's on the thing. I can guarantee season 3, she's gonna be on the buzzer too. She don't play. She don't want to mess around. You know what I mean? She's about that life. Can't hate on it.
But being ready to love. Okay, well, let's break it down. Being ready to love doesn't matter whether you're a single.
Now look at Jamie's forehead. Look at Jamie and his forehead. He looks stressed. You know why? Because it's woman's business. And he can tell that the woman's business is starting to get a little bit techie. It's starting to get a little bit techie. He's already seeing what's happening. It's about to be a beef for no reason. The girls are about to escalate the situation. He looks stressed. You see that? He knows it's about to be stressed. Now, one thing about Joy you must also understand is, Joy ain't gonna back down from no fight. Listen, Joy and Ashley either gonna get along like a house on fire, or there's going to be a fire that's going to burn the house down. With Joy and Ashley in the same room, there's either going to be a fire or they're gonna get on like a house on fire. Either way, there's gonna be some fire, because these two are sharp shooters with the tongue and the mouth, and they don't hold back what they feel. Okay? That's what they don't hold back what they feel. You know what I'm saying? So you can tell this season we're gonna see some, and then we got Winter in the mix as well. There's about to be fires in winter. There's about to be fires in winter time. I'm telling you guys, January came early. Okay. So exactly, Jay. And Jamie doesn't like mess. We know this already. We saw that in season 1 where he tried to like quell a lot of the fights and the beef that were happening between people. You know what I mean? Even though he was part of it. But Jamie don't like when it gets messy. And he hates when Lorena gets involved. He likes to keep up appearances. So for him, the messy stuff don't work. Let's have a look.
Mom.
We agree. But it's just all just single general, just talk to ladies. Not like single ladies.
Oh, well, the event in itself is what it is. But
now, at this point, it still isn't really, it really isn't a beef situation at this point at all. I mean, they're just questioning the reason why she's in a position to be able to talk about this and have this conversation. So it hasn't got to a point where it's actually getting to a beef. I think we're still at a point where it's not messy. It's not at a point where people are arguing. It's more of a case everyone's giving their opinions. It still hasn't got to a ruckus yet. Yeah, we're not there yet. All right.
Is the mom of this?
Y'all see Jamie? Jamie does not do mess at all. Jamie even turned. He said, "Oh damn, what's going on over there?" I'm trying, like he's trying to make sure that he don't even get. He said, "What's up? Maybe if I look away, and I turn back around, they'll start arguing." Brother, it's not about you. They gonna argue if you like it or not. Okay.
Single mom event. Yeah.
There are differences with being a parent and especially a single mother and being very low. I'd be very low all day.
Now this is quite interesting because it's like this is for single mothers. And like I said, talking to single mothers. So in reality, what Joy, from a logical standpoint, would be is to actually stand down, right, and say, do you know what? I appreciate the opportunity, but this is not. Or at least let me bring somebody else on board who was ready to love, but is also a single mother, because in reality, I am not a single mother. And there are going to be some nuances that I can't necessarily describe. I'm not saying that Joy can't knock it out the park. What I'm saying is there are some nuances that might help a single mother. But then with Ready to Love, what single mother have we found has actually found love? We're yet to see it, I believe, right? Even outside of I think only wait. I think isn't no, is she a mother? Yeah, I think she's a mother. Isn't Cornelius and what's her name, man? Why has her name gone out of my head? Cornelius and our good sis. I think she's a single mother, right? She was a single mother, and they're still together. Camille, that was it. Isn't there? I think she's a single mother, right? So technically, she could have done something. She could have done the show as well. But I guess Ready to Love had their beef with them, so maybe not. But that could have been a better way of choosing somebody who maybe closer to the deal, because again, like I said, who has a unique perspective, right? Unique perspective. But I don't know if Ready to Love has got good a good relationship with Camille after the antics on the show. So yeah, so I get why she would have been in the role, but the problem is that she's gonna miss certain nuances, that are not gonna be within the situation. Do you see what I'm saying? So there'll be certain nuances that will not be able to. Do you know what I mean? Miss Ione said, I get it. But similarly, people would say the same thing about you offering relationship advice when you're not relationship. The same can't be said because I'm not being called to an event. Do you understand? I'm not being called to an event. This is my own YouTube channel. You are free to come to the thing. It's not my event. The event has purposely described it as for single mothers. My YouTube is my YouTube. If you come to my YouTube, you can come to it. So it's slightly different. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not saying that Joy shouldn't go at all. What I said is maybe she can bring someone else along. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if I put on a show specifically for married people, if I put on a show specifically for married people, then there would be an issue. Do you know what I mean? If I put one on for specifically married people, there'd be an issue. If I do a show and married people come to the show, then it's a different story. But if I'm targeting married people, knowing that I haven't been married myself, then we can have an issue, right? Because like there's going to be some nuances I'm going to miss. I may talk about certain subjects and maybe talk about certain things across the board, but if I'm targeting specifically married people, do you see what I'm saying? So then that would be a little bit different. I would have to, look at it differently, just in that respect. Do you know what I mean? Just in that respect. So I'm not saying she can't contribute some great things, because she can, because there were going to be overlaps. I'm just saying it would be nice to have and it's not necessarily Joy's fault, but I'm saying that it would be nicer than to have a single mother who also could, get involved, which is why I understood what Ashley was challenging her. That's what I'm saying. So I understand the point of view. You know what I mean?
But because of how strongly I felt about being a mother to my son, and because I was the only one for him, like I protect that so much deeper. I guess.
And so I think that's where obviously Cries comes in. I think her name is Alyssa. Cries comes in, and it's explaining it. And actually, to be fair, it wasn't a beef. It was a good explanation, good breakdown, and it was a purposeful conversation. Like, she wasn't being rude, she wasn't being dismissive. She was just trying to explain why there may be issues with her being in that particular position and role. Someone said, I think there were a mixture of people there. Okay, if it was a mixture of people there, it's just the angle that she put it as. I'm a ready to love person talking to single mothers. She put the angle there. That's the issue. So I don't know if they cut out or edited the clip, but she put single mothers in her mouth and said it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was the only thing. Do you know what I mean? And again, obviously, like I said, it might have been edited. It might have been edited. So again, like I said, there might be other people who were there. I don't know. There might have been. I'm only going on what was said. So if there was other information that was put in the interviews, I'm not aware of that. So if you could share it here, that'd be very helpful as well, to give us a bit more nuance to the topic as well. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I personally wouldn't feel comfortable talking to a group of single moms.
Why not?
Because I've never been a single mom. I'm a married mom. Even though I've been a mom for almost 15 years, there are certain things that single moms go through that I have never been through.
Wow.
So yeah, so again, Ashley straight shooting tells us straight, you know what, I'd feel uncomfortable doing it because of the fact that, you know what, I'm not a single mom. I've been married in my entire life, so I couldn't tell you that. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why I said I agreed with Ashley on this particular point, just because of the nuances that come with being a single mom or a single dad. You know what I mean? Like, again, there could have been other conversations we could have spoke about, but I think in that particular way, I did agree with Ashley on that point. Other than that, I don't think there was anything necessarily. Again, like I said, I don't think she should not go. I just said, obviously, you know, I get why the argument was had. Now, because of this, and because I've said this again, because Ashley is a truth person, there is a way when you present the truth, and when we say the truth, you have to learn how to be able to present the truth appropriately in time and in season. Okay, you have to be able to appropriate in time and in season. And I think that's what's key. I love Ashley and the way she can be and she can be free enough to say stuff. I think she inhabits something that I wish I could do more. You know, be so free speaking. All right, but there is a need to curb and know a time and a season when to say stuff, because without the tact, you can cause decision and division amongst people very quickly without wanting to actually do that. That's I'm sure that's the reason why her and Winter didn't get along. Now it looks like that's the reason why her and Joy might not potentially get along. And that's the only issue that I have with Ashley. Just tact and season, knowing when and where to say. Because what happened was that later on, like just a little bit later on, how Joy feels about the situation now is this. Listen to this.
It's like, this moment of sisterhood just went out the freaking window because you are discounting me. Now, when you do that, that comes off like hate.
So now the situation comes off more like hate rather than it being like, hey, look, do you know what? I just want to let you know, listen, my personal point of view, and you can tell me to shut up and leave me alone or whatever. But just as a friend, I don't know how appropriate it be or how I think it is to, for you to be on the panel talking to single mothers, though. Do you know what I mean? And so I can understand Joy's also perspective because of, like I said, context is key. Context is key. Like a time and a season for every kind of conversation. And that particular conversation at that particular time and point when I've just released my good news isn't the right time. Right? isn't the right time. When I've just released my good news, this isn't the time to piss all over it. That's the only issue I have with when it comes down to to Ashley when she talks about her realness. It's fine to be real. It's fine to tell the truth. But as a truth teller, you also have the responsibility, the weight and the gravity and responsibility also to choose your timings very well. And like I said, sometimes I have to call out truth tellers because sometimes your truth is really not truth. What I mean by that, it's not said in love, sorry. Sometimes the truth being said is more about you being able to is you being able to just tell your opinion and how you feel about a situation, right? And not ever thinking about the other person, how they may feel about you releasing that information. Not everything that's understood needs to be said. We say this over here, right? And so sometimes there's no need to actually say certain things at that particular time. Um, you know, that's the biggest thing, right? No, I get it. Listen, of course, she can tell the truth. I'm trying to make you understand. The truth doesn't always have to be said. The truth doesn't always have to be said. And yes, exactly. This is it. Sometimes your truth is just your brutal point of view. And that brutality, when it's not considered of how it may be received in terms of time and season, can come off as hate. Right? Can come off as hate. So I know there's a lot of people that are truth tellers. You really need to think about whether your truth is actually the truth and whether it's just you just trying to be your point of view and whether you just want to be opinionated in that moment. Anybody out there, if you're listening to it, if you're a truth teller, I'm asking you to really consider, are you really a truth teller? Or is it only about the fact that you get to tell the person how you feel? Which then it becomes more egocentric and it becomes about you rather than actually being of service to a person. What is the reason why you're telling a person the truth? Right? My question is, why do you want to tell the truth? Right? That's the question. Why do you want to tell the truth? Ask yourself that real question. Am I wanting to tell the truth because I want to tell the truth? Or am I telling the truth because I want to help the person help the person in front of me? Or I just want to say my opinion? I want to be heard. Got to think about it. So I'm not saying that Ashley's bad. I'm saying that time and season. That's what I'm really saying. Time and season. Okay? Time and season. Yeah. So consider that. Just consider, be careful, just be careful how you tell the truth. How is also important as well as the actual truth. You know what I mean? Yeah. Be very, very careful of that as well. Okay. Oh. Okay. Let's have a look at this. Before I go on, okay, so people are making some points here which are really cool. So Joy is not a girl's girl. She looks for reasons to not be friends with women. This is also a fair consideration. We have to consider this point as well. I think this is a fair consideration, and I won't be mad at it. Absolutely, because we saw this on Ready to Love, and we saw. I know we called her male identified and the way she dealt with her. We saw obviously there being issues amongst women with her, and I think it's because she carries a lot more masculine energy in terms of wanting to protect herself, right, and wanting to, defend herself quite honestly. And that's Joy. I'll be honest with you. That is her real life persona. And I said it to her when I met her face to face. I told her that, yo, my reviews, I don't think are wrong. I think they're spot on. I said, I think my reviews are spot on. I'll be honest with you. Like in terms of how you are, when someone critiques you, you go into, or when someone says something you don't like, there's an uber defensiveness that you go into. And you're very loyal and you'll defend who you're loyal to. And that can also end up being very tigerish in your response. You know what I mean? It can make you very tigerish, and that can also spark people to also become very rough and aggressive with you as well. So there's a thing that Joy does where she defended herself, she's fighting back, and I can understand why because of the history she spoke about, being somebody who's with a daddy's girl and having learned a lot from him. there's a lot of that masculine presence of carrying that she might hold. So there's a lot of defensiveness incident. We saw that with Demetrius, when Demetrius said what he said, and she said bang bang, you know, and we called it out, and then we saw it as well at the end of the reunion when the true nature of Joy came out. When she feels like she's been slighted, trust and believe she's about to give you the whole shebang. So her and Ashley have got a few weeks of madness coming potentially. The house will be on fire, or they will get along like a house on fire. Do you know what I mean? And it seems like right now the house is not on fire, but there is fire that is happening at this particular time and moment. So yes, that aspect is happening. Okay, cool. Let's talk a little bit then about Arena and Jamie. Let's talk about Arena and Jamie. And so this one's gonna be interesting because I think this is such a powerful moment as well in this particular episode, because I feel like there's such deep themes going on here as well. So let's have a little look at this.
Out here, and he does not have a job. I had to connect at MedStar Hospital for him. So he applied, kind of was a short thing.
So obviously, now talking about obviously Arena and Jamie, the situation with Arena and Jamie is that they have little Jamie, their 26-year-old son, who has now chosen very poorly life decisions, and is now blaming the parents. Look, I'm gonna say it again. The situation with Jamie and little Jamie is, it looks like, and this is by the words of DJ Quick when he said obviously that they spoiled little Jamie, and now the spoiled brat is coming home to roost. The chickens are coming home to roost. Okay, and so unfortunately now he's showing you what the training was. And I say it again, I'm going to say this again. Beside a child being intruded upon, which I mean, trigger warning, sexual invasion, like sexual violation or sexual attack of a child at a young age, barred the child be in some deep bullying situation at school or whatever, right? And I'm trying to think of anything else that would be a reason why a kid might go off the rails or whatever. A parent dying or divorce, something that's really traumatic. Children take on what you teach them. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some kids that are just come out the womb, just mad. I'm going to be honest with you. Some kids come out the womb just a little bit tapped, but I think they're in the minority. Okay. Now, I'm saying this. There's certain kids that are more susceptible to certain things, and there are what we call perfect storms. A parent is a particular way and a child is a particular way, and they meet. Parent meets child, and it's a perfect storm, and that child ends up being the way they are, and it's like really, etc. But a lot of times the reality is the child oftentimes has been misfed nutrients that becomes a person who then turns on you. I think there's a Bible scripture that talks about not about training a child the way to go, but something about I'm trying to remember the scripture and I wish I could remember it. But anyway, so the child turning on you and becoming this now overgrown child who now is disrespectful to a point where can't even. We see a lot of this conversation in season 1. I see you, Jay. Sorry, I see you. Jay says she's here for a good time, not a long time. We see a lot of this conversation in season 1. So you see a lot of this conversation in season 1 where Jamie and little Jamie are having this back and forth entire season, right? And unfortunately, what we see from Jamie and little Jamie's situation first season is we see the dynamics between Jamie and little Jamie, and also his daughter as well, right? Was that his daughter? I think it was as well. And what was happening, what we saw was how Jamie's militant parenting didn't work with little Jamie, right? The militant approach with the kids didn't necessarily work. And am I saying that Jamie's a bad parent? No. Okay, it's Arena's daughter. Sorry, Arena's daughter, right? But Arena's daughter and also little Jamie had the same sentiments about the style of parenting that Jamie brought. We saw how Jamie was going through therapy and how he struggled to even internalize his own behaviors, his own anger, his own frustrations, right? We saw also how, Jamie was being very restrictive to a point of almost control when it came to even allowing his son, little Jamie, and also what's the other son called now? I've forgotten his name now. I've forgotten his particular name. Sorry, the child's name. When I had a birthday just recently. Let me know. Remind me the name of his other son. Sorry, apologies. In terms of not letting him even want him to, do what he wanted to do. Jason, thank you. Right. So, we saw that in season 1. So if you watch season 2, you might think to yourself, right, the 26-year-old is just a spoiled little brat who's doing this. But the reality is Jamie fed into it by his parenting style, unfortunately. Now, look, Jamie's style might have actually worked with other kids with a different set of natural proclivities. The child might have turned out a different way, right? But this child unfortunately did not respond to that certain way of parenting, unfortunately, right? And so this is the unfortunate part, right? So it's not to say that it's not to say that even Jamie necessarily can be even a bad parent, because the right child would have taken that militant training, and yeah, there might have been a few issues, but it wouldn't have turned out the way that Jamie turned out, right? They wouldn't have changed the way that Jamie turned out. Now, clearly, little Jamie, and here's the thing that's really interesting about little Jamie and little Jamie and Jamie's beef. Is what I believe that little Jamie really wants is to be heard and to be seen. And it's going to take a very, very long time to turn that relationship around. But there's a lack of trust from little Jamie to big Jamie. A huge distrust. Right? And the issue at that point now is that little Jamie is grown and has dealt with a barrage of frustration, I believe, from big Jamie. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. Let me just get Jay up as well, sorry, so you can have a say as well. But yeah, so there's a bit of barrage of I think one thing, okay, so I can identify with where Jamie's coming from in terms of, like, I can see some similarities with my own dad, right? And parents of that generation. Very hard, very harsh, very militant, very, I didn't die, so you're gonna get this hard treatment. You know what I mean? They don't want to pamper, and I get it. But what happens is your voice in turn gets lost. And that's the biggest issue. And so certain children can deal with that. They become emotionally detached. Some children become very anxious, and that's not very great. Some children do what little Jamie are doing now, right? They find their home elsewhere. And that's why you find that little Jamie's in gangs and stuff, right? Because he's trying to find where he's safest. The reality is he should be safe at home. That question in season 1 where they were asking, why would little Jamie decide to want to be in a gang? Because the gang is safer than him being at home. Right? Little Jamie wants to have a relationship with father figure, but father figure is energy and anger that he has and frustration he has consistently comes out, and it breaks all the bridges in that particular relationship. Not say that Jamie isn't doing anything for his son, not say that Jamie's not trying to help, not saying say that Jamie doesn't love his son, more of the case of the way he deals with events and situations causes more disparity between himself and his son. You know? Yeah, go for it, Jay.
Yeah, I make sure you can hear me too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I agree with mostly everything you say, especially like the part where you said he's missing nutrients. And I've sat in there and I've been thinking about it. And to be honest, only little Jamie would actually be say if we are right or not on this. But there's so many different variables to this equation. You have 2 boys, 1 girl. You have an elder son, and I'll say disabled for the lack of better words right now, but a blind, vision impaired child who gets all the attention of the mother. You have to add in the father being with his job that he has. I don't know which particular sector of the academy that Jamie was in, but like I figured if he was detective or undercover, that takes you away from home a lot. And the fact that he says, Grandma gives me everything later on, it lets me imply that his nourishment came from Grandma more so than anybody else. More so than Mom, because Mom is preoccupied with the youngest son. Big sis has gone off and she's had her time with the family, and now she's gone off on her own. I'm left alone. I don't have nobody but Grandma and the streets. So now I'm with the gang. Why am I with the gang? Especially what my dad does. Like many kids do when they're trying to bond with their parent that has a vice, in this case would be Jamie's work, is pick up habits of either the vice or anti-vice. In little Jamie's case, you are the law. I'll get your attention by breaking the law. And so that's what's happening. I see in this dynamic what I see. Now, like I said, only little Jamie could say if this is true or not, or whatever. But he is, like you said, trying to gain the attention of his parents because he hasn't gotten it at those key moments in his life that he needed to. Everybody else got the attention. My older sister get the attention because she's the only girl. My baby brother get the attention because he's the baby boy and he has a vision impaired situation. Where's my attention? I'm the middle child. And that's a lot of times with the middle child syndrome as well, is they get lost in the middle where they don't really get the attention and they're fighting all the time to gain that. Prime example, everybody would know Kim Kardashian. We see how she acts out in things because she's fighting all the time to gain the attention. And it's hard for us as parents that have multiple children. Unfortunately, I don't have that. So I can't really speak on it, but I grew up in it. And I noticed the dynamics between me and my sisters on how they are. Now, granted, my sister got to spend the middle child. She got to spend some of her childhood being the baby for a while. So she learned how to gain the attention of the baby before the youngest one came. So she didn't have too much of the problem. The baby actually has a middle child syndrome more so in our family than the middle child. But there is a thing that I'm kind of a middle child because I do have an older brother, but I'm the oldest girl from my mother. So I kind of got both, where I lose a little bit, but I'm also the oldest girl from my father. So I still gain that regard as not totally being the middle child. And so these dynamics do play out in our lifelines, that we get treated differently based off of what number kid we are. Parents get tired over time. So depending on how older the parents are when they start to have us, if they have a stair steps, it all plays into it. So there's a lot of variables on why he's acting out. I feel like really Big Jamie, and we said this last year, me and you, Coach O, that he just needs to sit and actually listen to his children because they are in adulthood now. And they need to express themselves as adult. We can't keep sitting here saying, well, I'm taking care of you, I'm doing this for you, but at the same time, I need you to be a man. It's either one or the other at this point. It's either you got to totally let him fly, or you're going to keep him in the nest. And we can help him out a little bit here and there, and that's okay. But when he says, I'm blaming you, I don't always agree with that, saying you blame the parent for your choices. You can't do that. But I can get where he's coming from when he says that, because it's saying, you put me in, in these positions from childhood. And that's where little Jamie needs to step up and be a man and actually say, this is not an issue that just came up now. Let's talk about how we got here. Let me explain to you all the hurt that I've been carrying as a child all the way to this point. So maybe we both can garner understanding of each other in this now new space that we are in, as man to man instead of parent to to child. And maybe we can have the set respect that we need to have for one another, where we can have a conversation like this and have some trust and not blow up on each other. And Big Jamie has to respect that. Like, you have to let Jason go to be the man that he wants to be as well. And it was a funny thing. I don't know if you picked it up later on, where Big Jamie even said that I have to let him out of, what do you say? I have to let him off of my leash or something like that to little Jamie. So that's where your mentality is that you're holding all of your kids on your umbilical cord. You need to cut that. That should have been cut. They can't be there forever. You have to think of the future. If something does happen to you, will they survive without you? And as a parent, that's what we are setting our kids up to be able to survive without us at some point. No, we don't really want it. But I need you to be in that space that I don't have to worry myself to death that you'll never be there. And I think really as a whole, and especially for Big Jamie and Little Jamie, they need to go to family therapy. Jamie needs to go to therapy on his own. Little Jamie needs to go to therapy on his own. But those two for sure need to go together and hash out all these issues. I'll leave it there for a second.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jay, as well. And you're right. So, we can talk about why Jamie is the way he is, but he still will have to take accountability for his actions. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's now 26. So just like he's been getting in trouble with the law, and they're not going to his dad, they're going to him. That's the accountability you have to take as well. Like, where you are at position now, you got to take accountability for. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. So as well, part of the situation is that now Jamie's mindset is in need of rejuvenation really, really quickly, because the whole job situation is actually quite interesting as well, because the job situation that was happening between the two of them, what Jamie says after was quite interesting. Little Jamie says obviously that disappointment is a driving factor in the disparity between the two. I think I got a clip, if I can get it, of the conversation that they had. And it will kind of give a bit more insight into what's kind of happening between the two of them as well. If I can get it, here we go.
I didn't even know you didn't get it. Because I didn't get a job because of my background check. I made you feel like you both knew. I made you feel like that happened and it was just a shocker. Did I make you feel bad, or did I try to tell you that? Move on. We're going to keep moving. I ain't say that.
So that conversation, he's talking about, little Jamie actually says something which is interesting. He said, you know what, you made me feel bad about not being able to get the job. And it's interesting because obviously this is little Jamie's fault, first and foremost. If you go into a gang and you do gang activity and you end up doing stupid stuff and getting caught, right, there are going to be consequences, right? So the consequences have come, and they've come full circle. Now that when you're trying to get a job, right, the job is now doing a background check. And unfortunately, in between that time, you've got some issues that you've had in between that time, right? And so now, instead of him actually looking introspectively and saying, do you know what, this is my fault because I've done what I did, I need to pick myself up onto the next one, having that mindset. He don't have that mindset. His mindset is, you're looking at me all mad disappointed. It's not my fault. But it's like, no, it is your fault because you did what you did. And so what I believe has happened is this really bad cyclical cycle, right? I think you kind of mentioned it, Jay, a little bit as well in the beginning, because what's happened is in the youth, he should have been reassured, he should have been emotionally taken care of, he should have been emotionally encouraged, so that when these points come and you get older, if now Jamie needs to give him a very hard talk, say, hey, son, look at the situation again. Who's like look, the consequence of your action coming. The son should be able to then be able to take it and be like, yeah, I hear you still. I'm looking at the situation. Yeah, you're on point. But because there's been such hardship and a lack of, I believe, emotional investment and nutrients being given, and if most of if most of your childhood, I don't want to say most of your childhood, but if the parts that you remember are oftentimes where your parent shouts, screams, hollers, shows disappointment, isn't really excited about any of your achievements when you're young, if you had any, do you know what I mean? Like per se, right? Then what happens is it doubles up when you get older. So now you're looking for that soft landing, but Jamie's looking at it like, if I give you that soft landing, I've given you soft landings before, and look what's happened. Now you're in a situation. But the reality is, he actually needed that encouragement, that emotional build-up, all that kind of stuff in his childhood, so that he can earn a moment like this where he can say to you, look, bro, do you not see what you're looking at? So now, when you do give that hard talk, it's taken much more worse than it actually is, because it doesn't look, the person's now receiving it going, you don't love me, you don't care about me, you think I'm a disappointment, you know, all those thoughts come to their mind because that's what they've been conditioned to think previously. Now, am I saying that little Jamie's off the hook? No, because the consequences are still the consequences. You still got to have to do what you're doing. I'm talking about cause and effect. I'm talking about the root cause of where this comes from. And I think you're right, Jay. This needs family therapy. ASAP Rocky. Because without it, there's no comeback. You know, and I know that I know that Jamie said to little Jamie, that, you know, hey, look, you know, I've got you another job, security job. And little Jamie said, I don't want to do security. You want to do security. I don't want to do security. And I can understand where Jamie's coming from. Negro, you ain't got options, so take the security job. But again, he really don't have options. He really takes the
He
security job.
does, and it's like, what the heck?
They're gonna do background check. You might pass that one this time. You know what I mean? You got some credentials. You know what I mean?
There's jobs out there that you can do with a felony charge. Culinary takes everybody. Certain security jobs take everybody. Trucking takes everybody. I know fellas that go straight into trucking programs. Okay, so there's programs for you. You're fighting everything and blaming the people that are helping you for that same reason. Now, my biological mom does this. And it's for that same regards, because she felt she was a baby child, but her brother that is older than her was the only boy. So he was a baby boy and the only boy. So he got all the attention that she felt she deserved. So she acted out. And it's funny to watch it happen with little Jamie, because it's like you're going down this same path of trying to get their attention, which you have right now in this moment, and they're doing everything for you. And I don't think he's spoiled. I'm going to go with the same thing that Quick said. You're entitled. Because what happens is, I think they came back and realized I didn't give you the attention because of everything else. And so they overcompensated later on. And now he feels like, oh, well, because you weren't there for me at this time, you need to do this now. And that's a habit that the kids will get in, where it starts to look like spoiling, but that entitlement is self-spoiling. I'm going to make you feel bad for the time you didn't do for me. So now you have to do for me. And that's how he's coming across to me. You know, as if I'm going to punish you for not being there when I needed you. So now by punish you, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to come around. I'm not going to do what you say. And my girl's doing better than you guys did for me. That's a punishment play. That's not spoiled. Spoiled is that tantrum that he threw in the hallway. Yes. When we get to the hallway and you're sitting down there crying on the floor, waiting for somebody to chase after you. That's a little bit of the spoiled brat there. But you're feeling entitled, like your parents still owe you something. And you can feel like that because they do probably owe you something, but they got you past that threshold that legally they needed to get you past. You're a man now. Technically, they owe you nothing more. So you can't keep depending on them for your mistakes. You are a man. You have to choose better. Now, you could fault them up until 18, from 15 to 18, from that time you was getting into trouble. If they weren't paying attention to you and getting you the help that you need or the attention that you need, the love that you wanted, I get it. But from 18 to 26, now those are just privileges that they're garnering you to bail you out every single time. They're not obligated to do that. So you have to take accountability, little Jamie, as a man and say, I appreciate you every time that you come for me. I appreciate you trying to get me that job. I should have known that my background wasn't going to work. You can't even be mad at that because you really don't know. Some jobs, it's not even the background that you didn't pass. It's not even the part of the background you didn't pass that you think it is. Sometimes it's some other little weird thing is why you didn't pass, or they just wanted to hire somebody else, so they just say it. But to sit there and say, you knew it, this is your fault, because now you're embarrassed about your background. You can go clean it up. You can get a lot of that stuff off your record expunged because some of it is still from you being a minor. You can get it off of your stuff. Go clean up your background. But you're still getting out here getting speeding tickets while on probation. Think. They can lock you up just because of that. I know people who, if their family is so enrooted into criminal activities that if you run their last name, they're ready to take you to jail regardless if you did something or not, just because other family members have. Now, you have a privilege of having a dad that could come actually bail you out. He actually somehow managed to get you on probation. I'm not going to give Jamie all that credit because your lawyers did that, but they got you just probation. And you're still chancing your life out here. For Fast and Furious, what are we doing? So if you get locked up because you were speeding, you're going to blame your dad and your mom? That's their fault. They were behind the wheel, or they were chasing you in the car behind you. Someday we have to grow up and just say, you know what? I messed up. Now I need help, because when we start owning I messed up, it's easier to say I need help fixing this. And people will be like, okay, I got you. But if you start blaming people, then people throw their hands up and say, you know what? Well, I don't want to deal anymore. You figure it out. And you want to cut your nose off to spite your face, saying that you're going to cut your parents off because they didn't help you this one time. Okay, well, let's see how long your girl is going to continue to help you, because see, she has a different responsibility than your parents. She's going to put up for it for a minute and stuff, but after a while, that runs out. People get tired. People get tired of helping fix other people's mistakes, especially when they got their own. You want to give this lovely little speech of how you want to tell your little brother, don't be like you. You don't be like you. You still got a lot of future to change your whole life. I know ex-cons with serious backgrounds that have backgrounds just like you that just started getting into stuff since a teenage year, just back to back to back to back. And granted, they're 40-something, 50-something years old, but they managed to change their life around. Now, if you want to talk to those people, I can link you to those people and you can get your life in order way sooner than they did, because they will definitely help you. But don't sit here and you can't keep blaming other people. That's one thing I do respect about them. I ain't never heard them blame anybody else but themselves about their mistakes. And that's why the change has come for them. It could have probably came sooner, but they chose not to. But that's a different story. But, you know, the change has come, and it could come for you too, little Jamie. You just got to own your ish. And that's it. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's easy for us to look on TV. I do agree with some people that said this is a conversation that probably never should have came to TV. And it probably shouldn't have never happened at Lil Jason's party, because it's really not for all of us. And I get where his emotions and his frustrations and the standoffishness might have came from in that moment. This is a conversation that they probably just should have had together and not for the cameras. Because I did look at it when somebody did mention it. I would be standoffish too. Jeremy Speaks actually said it, and I actually said, yeah, I would be standoffish too if you confront me at a party where I'm not really ready to talk to it. I really don't want to talk to you, and there's cameras around. So I think Big Jamie should have picked a better time to have this conversation. Even if there was cameras around for it to be transparent, I think he should have picked a better time than at this party. Maybe you just looked at it, this is your only opportunity, but that does put people at a defensive stance when you confront them like that. It's like an ambush, and nobody likes that. So I do get little Jamie in that regards of why he had so much hostility as well, though. So.
Yeah, definitely, you know, and it was tough one again. It's similar to, like I said, about the Ashley and time and season, isn't it? The dad, do you know what the dad thought to himself? You're late. And this is why I said that I do blame Jamie a lot as well, right? Because I know this energy. He's pissed off that he's late, but he's pissed off first because he thought that he wasn't going to turn up. Then he turns up late, okay? And then he wants to have a conversation with him at a point in time, right? But I think the energy of him being pissed off is the fact that there's other things running behind the scenes that he's pissed off with little Jamie about, right? And because obviously his energy is his anger go-to, right? That lack of patience then formulates in a conversation that didn't need to happen at the party. Because I felt uncomfortable. I was like, it's his party. You want to drag him aside at the party? You couldn't do this another time. We couldn't do this tomorrow. We couldn't do this another day. Why do we have to do it at the party? You know what I mean? And so, you know, I felt like that was a poor timing, but it's not just a poor timing. It's a fact that, and I'm probably sure if you ask Lord Jamie, you probably won't get this response. He's seen that energy a million times before. Like, especially if you're African, you know this energy. You come home and your parent is come from work and they're screaming and shouting. But the thing is, it's not about you. So you come home and your parents like vex about something and you become the scapegoat. Now you do that enough times, depending on the type of child that you have, the child responds to that and tries to anticipate that. Now at 26, granted, you know, yeah, you know, Jay. Granted, you know, he's a grown-ass boy, so it's gonna be different. But he already knows what's coming. You see, do you know what I mean? That's probably why he's even dodging his dad, because he already knows what's coming. Your anger is gonna come first before understanding. And when you're used to a parent always using anger first before understanding, after a while you just burn out. You just like you just check out. It's like I can't be done with this anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, like I said, that doesn't eradicate little Jamie from his position, because now little Jamie's in a position where you're telling me, you boldly told me your girlfriend is helping you out. Are you all right? You are 26, sir. Like, I don't know if you realize right now. Of course, listen, we know there will always be women that will try and fill in the gap and build a bear. You know how I feel about that. But you are 26. There is nothing proud about you saying your girlfriend is helping you out to survive these moments and times. You know what I'm saying? And now when I say that, I don't mean that a girlfriend can't help you out. I'm saying that you've had a situation for a long time, sir. And we're now at a position where your girlfriend is helping you out. Yeah, I need you to chill on that. Okay, I need you to chill on that. There's no way little Jamie is going to be excited about your girlfriend helping you out all the way when, you know what I mean, in this current climate. Like,
Told you, I think you're on mute.
sorry, my mic went out then. My mic went out. Thank you for telling me, Jay. Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, you know, if you can't hold down a job, if you can't, take accountability for the fact that you're in the position that you're in, you are literally going to become a leech and a plague to this girl. this girl is literally going to become a blood bag that you're going to suck from, because you're refusing to take accountability for the actions of where you are. And I think going back to your original position of what you talked about, entitlement, was a perfect a description of what we find with little Jamie, which is you're angry at your parents for something that's happened in the past, or angry at Jamie in the past, your dad in the past, and you're trying to punish him for it. But what you don't realize is, as you're punishing him, you're punishing yourself and those around you in your own life. You know, we talk about this, the analogy of, not forgiving somebody is like them on the ground and you sitting on them. The reality is, you're not forgiving them means they're stuck, but you stuck. I mean, technically they're not really stuck. They're going to live their life, but you're now stuck. Do you get it? And your life is not changing. So in this particular aspect, little Jamie needs to take accountability for his behaviors and where he is, because now you're now bringing a girlfriend into the situation, right? What happens when she tells you she don't like you anymore, or she tells you she doesn't want you anymore because this situation doesn't work for her? Are you going to take accountability? Are you going to see the part that you played, or are you going to get angry at her too? Because this is giving red pill. I'm just being honest with you. This is how red pill people start. And then they start blaming women for not holding them down. It's like, bro, you need to take accountability, bro. Like you right now are not presenting the best version of you. Go for it, Jay.
So are we saying red pill is daddy issues?
Daddy issues, it's mummy issues, it's parental issues oftentimes from these red pillars. Yeah. You can go for it, Jay.
Give me 2 seconds. I was getting back in my car, but yeah.
That's right,
Definitely agree. I really have nothing else to say really about this situation. It's just, I will just stick to my fact that at this point, I just believe everybody has some deep-rooted issues, and that counseling would be the best thing to resolve a lot of it and to get this family back functioning. And both parties have to really be willing. And I would say both parties because I believe little Jamie will be more willing, but big Jamie really has to be willing and open to hear how he has been moving. And I know sometimes we get into a space where as we get older, which is so weird, that we feel like we can't be remolded and reshaped and we just got it all figured out. But sometimes when it comes to parenting, we really don't. I say it all the time. You guys hear me say it all the time. We do not leave a manual. We don't get a manual when we leave the hospital of what to do, how to do it. There's no one-on-one parenting for dummies or whatever. We don't have that. We're just going by hopes and prayers and leaps and bounds and thinking that we're doing stuff right. And sometimes we're not. We're not doing right for a particular child, because you said that so good earlier on, that certain learning styles doesn't, like teaching patterns doesn't work for every child's learning style. You can have 3 different children in your household, and you have to teach them all based off of how they learn. So I can't use one structure and just say, oh, well, this one turned out right, so why can't you? It doesn't always work that way. So Jamie needs to go in and understand that maybe he fell short on some things as a parent. And it's okay. It's really okay. Like, I know as a parent, I have to check in with my daughter every so often to say, hey, did I fail you somehow? Do you feel like I could have gave you more? Because there's parts of me that, I was juggling college and all this stuff, and I had to send her away, and I feel some way about it because I never wanted to do that. But I have to make sure that she doesn't feel that, so I can let that burden go off of me. And I feel like Jamie needs to sit down and really hear his children out when they say, hey, Dad, sometimes when you approach us like this, we feel uncomfortable, especially as now adults. We want our bit of respect too. And he has to allow them to be that so they can actually fully transition into adults. And they won't be calling them fool and disrespecting them on national TV like little Jamie did. Okay, so they're both needed to have a mutual respect in their relationship, like honestly, as adults.
Just want to play this clip.
Have have no clue what that girl's talking to me about every day, you know?
Is she paying for your car? Did she buy your car? Is she putting food on the table? Is she giving you money every week?
Yes, my girl makes sure I eat every day, and she keeps...
I made sure you eat for 30 years.
Okay, why are you getting mad about that then? If you know what's up, then why are you mad?
I didn't have to do that.
Like, what are you mad?
So the reason why I play this clip is that last bit. Let's hope they don't copyright me, but that last bit, I'm sure many black people have heard that line before, right? Saying, you know what, I've done this for you for how many years? I didn't need to do that. I just wanted to say this for any parent out there. That's some bullcrap. Okay? I didn't ask to come in this world. You had sex. You had children. You then provide and protect that child for at least 18. At least until that child is grown as an adult. Do you know what I mean? But many black children have heard that line before. I didn't have to do that for you. Who told you didn't have to? Yes, you did have to. If you have a child, you're supposed to look after them. And again, it comes back down to that mentality again, like I said, when we're lacking emotional intelligence, oftentimes, and we are quick to anger and frustration, that these kind of lines come out from parents and they say this kind of stuff, which is literally nonsense. It's like, how can you tell me that I'm not supposed to have been looked after for 18 years? And I didn't have to do that. Yes, you did. You did have to do that. You did. Okay, it's called child neglect if you don't. All right. So, you know, and it's the kind of things that get said because when parents are angry and frustrated and they don't know how to curb that frustration and anger, and they're actually suffering from something else, their own trauma, which they've not dealt with, the child oftentimes is the brunt of that particular anger. Again, I'm not saying that little Jamie's off the hook. He gonna have to deal with his own consequences and he'll get it. I'm trying to talk about to anyone else who may be a parent or anyone who's a child as well, might understand, might get some better understanding of where some of this comes from. It's like when you experience that, it's like very painful. You know what I mean? You know, you're making it so that child is, number one, begged to be here. Number two, is so that child is now a burden. And it's like, I didn't have to do this. You know what I mean? Like I chose it, but it's like, you did have to do it. It's a necessity. It's what you are as a parent. But yeah, I just picked up on that and I saw it and I was like, let me just mention that. Go for it, Jay.
Yeah, even that thing, it's like, no, you didn't have to do it, but you chose to do it. So why are you complaining? You know what I'm saying? That's a different thing too. Like, no, you didn't have to do it. You could have gave me up for adoption. You could have aborted me. You could have did a lot of things with me, but you chose to keep me. So you at that point, you made that choice. Like, you want me to take accountability for my choices. You made the choice to be a parent. So yes, that much you owe me to feed me and all this up and at least until 18 legally. Now, in some regards, I could get emancipated, or, you know, I just got a criminal activity. I could be charged as an adult. Yeah, you could quit then. But anything up until 18, yes, legally, you are obligated to do it. So yeah, you had to, sir. Like, come on. Regardless of what you want to do, if you didn't give me up, you didn't abort me, you had nothing, no other choice but to take care of me. Now, after that point, yes, all of that, like I said, that's a privilege. Anything that you do for me after 18, after I actually move out of your house, really, that's a privilege. So raising your voice and yelling at him in that moment was a bit much when he's just sat there and said, you don't know the conversation. That was a door opening right there. You don't know the conversations that me and this girl is having. Son, what are the conversations y'all having? Let me into your mind, because clearly I don't understand you. I see things this way. I need to understand why you see things this way. That was his door opening. That was his saying, Daddy, I want to let you in. And you missed that mark. You clearly missed that mark because you did, like Kojo said, let your quick anger get to you. And you blew up. The Bible tells you're less to react when you learn to understand. That was your moment to understand your child so you won't have these problems, these quick-tempered issues, these quick blow-ups, this on-camera drama that we're seeing and we're experiencing we wouldn't have this, and you won't have to be sitting here trying to save face and bring on a special look on about your family because you want a certain image to be out there. The truth is, I have a father who listens to me, respects me, and loves me, no matter if I mess up or if I'm doing good. That's what little Jamie wants. That's really what every kid wants. You were a kid once, you know that's what you wanted from your parents. Good or bad, I need you to love me and understand me and just be there. And I know you'll get to quicken them later, but that's my problem with certain things is I'm with Arena, not Arena, but Ashley on giving your children what you didn't get. And sometimes, yes, we give them too much of what we didn't get growing up, but there should still be a balance in that. But that's what it's saying is like, sometimes we don't need to give them what we got either. If I had a tough parent, a militant parent, and I didn't like that style, that don't mean I don't need to raise my child that way. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I might have turned out great, but I didn't like how it made me feel in the process. So sometimes you just gotta reinvent the wheel as you're going along as a parent and say, I want to be a better parent than my parent was to me. Where my parent falls short, I want to pick up those pieces, and where they're excelled, I want to excel in those spots. That's what good parenting really is. You're going to have mistakes. Like I said, every style is not going to work for every child. So there's going to be flaws. We're not perfect, but you just want to make your child's experience a bit better than yours and hope that you do your best in the process.
Literally working more than he ever worked before. It is what it is, yeah. You know, Quick has been a workaholic since I met him. He took a little bit of time off this summer, but now we're right back into it. I am tired of arguing about it, getting upset.
So we're going to start here with DJ Quick and Ashley. And I'm going to say this. I hope DJ Quick and Ashley do not end up like Monique and our brother Chris. Okay? And I'm saying this because DJ Quick is working. She said DJ Quick is even working much more harder than before. And she's tired of arguing about it. When she said that, I got scared. Because I'm hoping that when she says she's tired of it, she's saying, do you know what? This is just not worth a fight. I need to fight. And do you know what? Let's let it go. And there are other things that are more important to fight about. That's what I'm hoping she's taking on. But if she's not taking it on and she's saying, do you know what? I can't bother to fight about it anymore. I fought him enough and it's not working anymore. I just don't care anymore. That's a completely different stance to take. At that point, I'm shooketh. Because before you know it, your work that you're doing and saying I'm doing for the family, you will end up somewhere 10 years time asking the question, where's my wife and where's my family? And she's like, well, you neglected me the whole entire time, but you know what? I just stayed for the kids and I stayed to make sure that, you know, I got my business done. Rare. And now you're looking back at the woman asking herself, I don't know what woman I've got. Do you get me? I'm not saying that it's an easy solution because he loves his work. And I'm not saying it's an easy solution just to quit. Or if I'm not saying that he should do that either. What I am saying though is that there's some aspects of this particular conversation that I was like, ooh, I hope she meant that as in I'm conceding and you know what, there are more things to fight about than just that. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just giving in. Because otherwise we are going to literally have a Chris Samuels and Monique Samuels situation. And then I'm trying to figure out what was said when. But she said that and I got shook. Just saying, you know. I don't know if Jay, you wanted to add anything quickly because I know your Wi-Fi might go.
Sorry, I'm over here talking on mute.
That's right.
Yeah, I pray that it don't. That's, you know, work, people being overly involved in their work. And living two different dynamics can be a little bit hard, especially when you don't have nothing else going on as the other person. Ashley is starting to gain some stuff, which is keeping her more busy than just being a stay-at-home mom. But if this has been your complaint for a long time, sometimes you do get tired of complaining. And then life just becomes complacent and it's no longer fun and it's no longer loving. And you just have two parents in the home to have two parents in the home. And the kids pick up on it. You know, you guys stop speaking to each other, start speaking to each other less, and the love is not being shown as much, and the affection is not there, and the other person's needs is not met, and it just grows, especially when it's not checked early. Now, granted, I have not been married, and nor have I been married as long or in a relationship as long as them two have been, so I can't really speak as an expert in this, but I can speak from a place of seeing what happens when people are not checking these type of things at the door. You know, my parents have been together for 30-something years, so I have seen things. You know, I've seen other people's relationships. Have I experienced it yet? No, but I do know communicating to each other, checking in with one another is very important as far as growing together is concerned. And she has stated several times, I need you home by my side more. And he goes and gets busier. That means you're flat out ignoring my needs, wants, and how to like keep me happy and involved in this relationship. And a lot of us check out and get tired. And I'm not saying that's a cause of divorce, but that starts to be a cause of separation first. Then people start realizing I could be happier without you. And these are down the roads that we just don't want to go as far as a married couple is concerned. So I think for Quick that he needs to, I know he's trying to get it while he's alive. And, you know, certain situations that we see as a child makes us fear that if we don't do it all now, we'll never get the chance to do it, yada, yada, yada. But sometimes when you have a family, the protection that they need is called love and your presence. And they need that because you're saying that how you don't want your child to be on national TV now. You're saying you don't want your child to be like little Jamie. Well, maybe talk to little Jamie to see why he is acting out like this, because maybe it is the absent father in the home. Not saying that you're not a father, you're not there, but you being at work all the time makes you absent in the home. And sometimes children need their father's attention a little bit more. If you're being out all night, you're doing a radio show, you're doing a club, you're doing this, that, and the third, you're tired. So even when you're at home, you're not giving them the attention that they might crave at the time they need it. So you have to think about all these things of how you're actually affecting your whole life as far as your family and your kids are involved.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with you, Jay, as well. And I think someone even said it, you know, we saw from season 1 that he spoke about, you know, the fact that he needs to work because, you know what, he's always been in a position of provider. He's another one that could actually really use some therapy. Just because he can't stop. Do you get it? Like, it's a noble thing that he's doing, but it's becoming destructive for his family. You can't stop working because you feel the responsibility of becoming a provider. And I totally get it. I'm not saying that, you know, again, he should stop completely. What I'm saying is, and Jay, you said something so powerful, which was so true. She said she wants you to come home more. He decides to go the complete opposite way. What does that tell you? Intimacy issues. That's what it tells you. The person doesn't want any more time to be intimate. Not that he doesn't like her, not that he doesn't love her, but it's like, what, you want me to have more time with you? Like, you want me to be closer to you? Nah, man. My value doesn't come from when I'm closer to you. My value comes from when I'm working. My value comes from when I'm doing what I do and I'm paying all the bills, I'm providing, I'm putting a roof over our head, I'm putting food on the table. That's where my value comes from, because that's what I've been taught. Because remember, for a young kid, he's looked after all his siblings. You know what I mean? He's been working, hustling. That's what he knows as value. So that's why I said therapy would help, because it would remove some of the edge that he has when it comes to working. Like, he needs to work. That's DJ Quick. We've heard about how he was sleeping at the wheel, working so many hours, you know, how many car crashes he's had. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to work so badly, he's willing to die for it. That tells you you need some therapy. You need someone to help you remove that edge that comes from it. Again, it's a noble thing that he does, but it's affecting his family. And what I don't want is for him to work so much that you turn around and your wife is not there anymore. Because what will happen is the anger that he will feel, and I will understand the anger, is like, I worked for you and I worked for the family, and you want to leave me? Of course you're going to be angry. But the reality is, we have to understand, especially as men as well, the work that's being done physically, financially, protecting a person physically, doesn't translate to emotional and mental care as well. That's the difficulty of being the provider. That's the difficulty of being the leader. That's the responsibility that you have that comes with the leadership role. So if we're talking about, yes, you want to be a leader and she's to submit, fantastic. But there is an aspect which requires you to also provide the emotional and mental care as well, which sometimes gets neglected because we think we're doing a great job providing, which he is. But he just needs to be able to look at the fact that the family now needs him to just tap in a little bit more, just tap in a little bit more. And Ashley is someone I can tell that, listen, aside Ashley telling the truth everywhere she goes, that woman loves him. I saw it in season 1. That woman adores him, like, no joke. So I don't want it to get to the stage where we're now looking at Ashley and we can see that old girl's looking elsewhere. Like, right now, this girl adores him. She loves him. She appreciates him. She professes it. In season 1, we saw it all the way through. So, I mean, I don't want to see them losing ground and becoming separated due to him not being present emotionally. And the work is an excuse for not being there emotionally. It's not the physicality of his presence. It's the emotionality of his presence. Him not being there, spending time emotionally. Linda V just said she already got her body done. Now she has some fame with success of the show. She has a book, her podcast. She has some money on her own. Now it's like a volcano brewing, and it's going to pop soon. And do you know what, Linda? The reality is, what you said is the truth. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying the reality is that now she's got all those things in place, and the kids are getting older as well. The likelihood of someone thinking about it and going, maybe I can, get out of the situation. Do I need to still be here? Can be very high. Now, of course, they have an extensive history, so it's going to take more than that. But this is how the gaps start, and this is why. Other people who are married are very helpful, because they can kind of see some of this stuff that other people can't. I said other people are married, other people that are astute single people as well. People who actually genuinely care about your marriage. They can actually see this stuff. I'm hoping that DJ Quick and Ashley watch our reviews so that they can quickly nip it in the bud, because him working so much is noble to provide for your family, but you have to understand there is an other aspect of contribution that requires emotionality, mental aspect. You know what I mean? I genuinely believe in DJ Quick and Ashley's marriage. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying, like, as a cautionary tale. You don't want to look at Chris Samuels and Monique and be like, what happened? What happened is what you're going to see now. If you don't listen a bit more and understand that working more, it's not going to get you there. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, I had lost my signal. I think it was finally connected. But I don't know if it was you guys last night or something else I was listening to where they were talking about fear and how people operate out of fear. And I think he has an attachment style of avoidance because of the loss of the mother and everything he's went through. So instead of, like you said, the intimacy, instead of being more intimate with her or being more at home so he can be, he chooses to work, because sometimes when we lose people really close to us early in our younger years, we start to keep people at a certain distance because we don't want to feel that pain or void again. And it makes it real hard to get attached to people. Now, I know both of these two people are very attached to one another. There's clear and it's evident there. But I do believe he does keep it at a distance. And so he puts work in the middle of the relationship being very super close, as it should be. And then it's also stemming off of how he parents himself. You're not really there. Ashley's doing all the parenting, yet you want to come in and monitor how she's parenting. You want to micromanage that part of it. And, that's a problem. It's like you need to actively be there, because you can't come in and be the bad guy in the background and I do all the dirty work, yet you be the hero. and when playtime comes around, or when it's time to give out gifts and all that, that's not how it works. We have to both be on the same page, especially when it comes to parenting. This is what makes co-parenting so difficult, because you co-parent in the same home, regardless if you're married or not. You're still co-parenting because you're two individuals. And we have to be on the same terms as far as how we are raising these kids. And right now, where it's happening, which we're seeing play it out, is they're not. And that's going to brew contingency in the family. The kids are going to start manipulation tactics, because they're going to know which parent they can get away with certain stuff with and all this. And it's going to cause a further divide in their relationship. Actually addressing the main issues is that you're always gone to work and I'm left here alone. We're going to start arguing over the kids and how we're raising them. The argument is going to keep shifting to something else instead of really addressing the main issue, is how close are we? Because if we're close enough, regardless if you're here or not, our parenting style should still be the same. Our love should show up the same. Everything about us should still be the same, because we're still aligned with one another. And that's why you're feeling it, and we're seeing it as the audience, Kojo, is that we don't want them to go down that path of Monique and Chris, because they're no longer aligned. These two have to get back aligned, especially before Ashley starts making all of her big changes, because once her big changes come, she's going to need more of that help. And if she don't get it, it's going to be a problem. And so Quick has to do, like we tell Jamie, listen to your wife, listen to your family. They haven't steered you wrong yet. So just give them something. They have let you be the forefront. They have let you do everything that you've been wanting to do all your life. You've been able to get all of yours on the side. It's about time that she gets what she needs out of it. The kids are getting to an age where they're going to soon be out the nest. She needs something for herself. And what you don't want her in is them DMs, because we seen it last year. She ain't got no problem sliding into her fantasies DMs, okay? Or they slide into hers. So, we don't want them DMs open. We leave that box closed, leave Pandora over there on the shelf by sitting here and actually compromising some of that time that she's asking for. She's not asking for much. She's asking for you. You're making it seem like that's too much to ask. So I don't want to just put it all on them, because we haven't seen what other issues that, he might be having with Ashley. But right now, as far as we see, Quick, this is all you can give her, more of you. A trip here, a vacay, just you two alone. Don't take the kids. Something, something. You have to give some type of compromise. So yeah, I'll leave it at that right now.
Yeah, and I think, thank you, Jay, as well, because I think some key points in there as well, which is that I think with DJ Quick and Ashley, he's got. I try not to be negative, because I like these two. I really do like their relationship, and I really love the fact that they are. I think they're such a strong couple. Do you know what I mean? I really do, and I think they are. If you were to have someone who was to headline as a good couple, they were.
Did your mic go out again?
Yeah, my mic went out again. My mic keeps going out. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, no, I was saying that I love these two, and I think these two are great. And you know, they are, I would call them the underrated kind of like poster love, because they've been together for so long, and they've cultivated a family, and you know, success has also hit them, and now success is also hitting Ashley. My thing that I'm seeing now, like I said, is that they're in that next phase of the marriage, where the kids are at a certain age, you know, what was working before in terms of him just working purely straight out is also kind of like losing its impetus now, because Ashley's also working. Okay. And one thing you have to understand also is that, ladies, I love you, but when ladies get money, the independence also kicks in too, right? It's natural. As a human being, when you get more money, you'll be able to become more independent. And we're already starting to see already Ashley now, and again, it's not to say she shouldn't be going into these things. It's to say you have to become aware of what's happening. The landscape is changing. Ashley is becoming more successful. She's now chasing, you know, doing her book. She's, you know, hired a nanny so she can focus more on her business, right? But what I'm scared for both of these two people is that if they're not listening to one another, is that as they start to follow their careers and follow their particular desires and dreams, the gap widens between the two of them. Do you see? So I think just watching them, that's what I'm afraid of in that aspect. So even the conversation about their child, their son, sorry, I shouldn't say child, their son. I was looking at it and I was saying, I wonder how much of "you can't tell me what to do" is a part of the fact that DJ Quick isn't necessarily present all the time with Ashley. And I say that because in season 1, she was telling him about his presence not being present. And he said, "Well, I got to work." And he said, "I'm going to try and be better." And so in that moment where they're having a conversation about the son and saying, you know, he's saying to her, "Listen, stop cuddling him, let him be a man." I'm wondering how much of her defensive energy that said, you know, basically my parent did this, etc., and that her failure to listen was a part of the fact that he hasn't been present in that particular area, right? So yeah, go for it, Jay.
Before I go, I was gonna laugh at that part because that end of that conversation, the way she said, shrugged them shoulders, it was like, "Huh, I'm the one here."
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's definitely like, okay, well, you know, I'm just telling you from my parenting thing to soothe you, but I'm still gonna do what I want. So
yes,
but thank you. I'm gonna go down because my background is about to get back loud again. So thank you for having me up here. See you guys back in the chat.
Appreciate it. I'm gonna end it after this anyway. Thank you, Jay. But no, yes, this is precisely what I was about to say, which is that that part of the when they were having that conversation, she basically did say like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do anyway. So whatever you say, I don't really care, right?" And I feel like that wasn't just because, oh, Ashley is independent, but more of a case of, I mean, this goes back to what Jay said in the very beginning about little Jamie and that entitlement, where it's like, you've done me wrong in the past, or you haven't been here, so how can you tell me what to do? If you haven't been contributing like I've been contributing, rearing these kids up like I've been rearing it up, how are you going to tell me to park my viewpoint and you're not even here? So, and then it makes it feel like you don't get to what to do. I'm not going to listen to what you got to say. And I can understand where she's coming from, because this happens in relationships. So, you know, DJ Quick, if it may there may have to be more conversations, and there may have to also be some apologies and say, look, hey, you know what? Because I actually agree with DJ Quick. He's 14. His ass should be getting up by himself. Maybe that's me, and maybe that's just my upbringing. But at 14, you ain't getting up by yourself. You need to be getting up by yourself. You should be getting up, getting ready to go to school. At 14, no, nobody should be waking you up. You know, nobody should be waking you up. Get up and go. Okay, get up and go. You know what I mean? Like you're 14. But so this is a really good insight for the two of them, because I think it shows us that's how much parent, you know, in 2023, in the last 20 or so years, last 20 or 30 or 20, 30, 30, 40 years or so, we should say. The question here is, not the question here, but the reality of the situation is that we're not in the 1950s anymore. So the traditional roles of a man working and woman looking after households kind of blending a little bit. So there's a need for men to kind of filter in more in the home. And so that reality is coming into DJ Quick and Ashley's relationship. DJ Quick, I'm not trying to put every blame on him. I'm trying to let him, just wanted to be able to highlight it, that in order to keep the blessings of that relationship that you have, and you have a really beautiful relationship, and I want to see them continue to thrive, and I'm sure they will. I just need, from my perspective, what I'm looking at, I'm like, DJ Quick, you just need to pivot a little bit and just put a bit more energy and time into Ashley and the family, and not use work as the excuse or the distancer between you and your partner. Because when you do that, what happens is now, like Ashley did, like we said about Ashley, she was like, "What I'm gonna do," even though you can see ahead of time, and especially as a man, you're meant to be have foresight, and I do believe that DJ Quick has some foresight. He can already see, based on what he saw of little Jamie and Jamie, that, hey, I don't want my son to go the same path. Beautiful, but you got to realize there's a part of the behavior that you've got to implement too that's going to bring that change. It's not just you correcting him. It's also, how do I pivot in that situation to make sure that I'm also contributing what needs to be contributed in that moment, so that my son doesn't go up like that, right? So, that particular aspect is really important. I know you feel like, Ashley's coddling him. Well, then you may need to take over the reins. You may need to take over the reins. You may need to be invested a bit more. You may need to spend a bit more time. You know what I mean? So that you can actually have that influence over them. So yeah, I definitely love these two, and I really want these two to flourish as well, and see them grow and continue growing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's not a negative critique per se. It's more of a case of, this can be worked on, and it actually can make you guys even better than you are as well. So that's what I'm saying. So yeah, DJ Quick, if you just see this, hopefully if you see this as not an indictment on you, it's more of a case of, you've done so well and had so much success. I want to see that success continue, and I want to see, and also that you don't go down the same path. Like you said, if you don't want to see the same thing for little Jamie as your son, what I'm saying is, hey, look, just spend a bit more time, maybe invest a bit more time, and that can look in different ways, but work it out so that you spend a bit more time, so that you're present emotionally as well. Yeah. All right, guys, let's leave it there. Really, really appreciate it. I didn't know the review was going to go that long, bro. Like, the review was long. I definitely have to chop it up and make sure we bring it up. But yeah, love this, man. Honestly, I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again very, very soon. Be easy breezy. We'll look forward for episode